Welcome into the Bruce Arians Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Bruce Arians. And man, I just don't know how else to start other than what is it about the Saints? Can we just exile them to another division or conference or something?
No, we just got to play better. It's a shame because we played fantastic defensively and special teams and offense didn't get it done.
And I wanted to hear your message to the team after a game like that. And what goes through your mind as a head coach of what you really want to convey after some tough games?
Well, yeah, I think you look at the positive things that we had no penalties and our defense played lights out. And we had the one dropped interception and one long pass that we should have intercepted. But other than that, we played great. Offensively and special teams, we got out-hustled and out-hit, and that just can't happen.
I know before the season you talked about how much you wanted to make sure that there wasn't a feeling of entitlement after a Super Bowl and the idea that we haven't done anything yet. As long as you guys are able to still accomplish what you want to at the end of the season, can a game like this maybe be helpful to make sure that everyone is on the right level going in towards the end of the season?
It can't hurt, but again, you know, a game like this, when you lose so many players to injury, it's going to have an effect down the road.
Yeah, and that's, I'm sure, the big thing on everybody's mind, so we can go and start with that. Are there any sort of, how about we start with Lavonte David, an injury update on him?
It's his foot. He got an MRI today, and we're still waiting on the results.
Okay.
Just about the same with everybody right now.
Everybody kind of still waiting on the results. Whenever it is I know you guys kind of call them hat and T-shirt games. Is that something you tend to emphasize to the team, or do you feel like you maybe don't even have to do that?
You bring it up. You mention it. This is what we're playing for. We're playing for it again this week, and then you put it to bed, and hopefully you're in the locker room putting them on. And
do you feel like, as a coach, your job to keep the team hungry at all, or again, do you feel like that's something they need to be doing on their own?
Oh, that's something they definitely need. That's veteran leadership. You know, if they need me to do that, we got problems. And I've always said this is their team, and we'll be as good as they want to be. And we've got great leadership.
And were there any veteran leader messages after the game? I know you always speak to the team, but did you sense anything about who's going to maybe be that person to step up with those messages right now?
Yeah, I think, we've got about 10 or 12 guys that I think are fantastic leaders. So a few of them spoke, but, everybody wants to listen when Lavonte speaks. Everybody listens.
Well, and speaking of Lavonte, I mean, just an incredible game by him before he went out with injury. Tell me about what you noticed about his play in particular.
Oh, he brought it all night. I mean, he was playing the run fantastic and the pass, and just had a great ball game.
And I think he ended up with 11 tackles, sack, forced fumble, other tackles for loss. I mean, he just stuffed that stat sheet in particular. And the Saints, there's some guys like Kamara and Ingram that he was going to really have to step up. What are the things you've seen about particularly going against the Saints that Lavonte's able to bring, that all those different matchups and why he's so key in those? Yeah,
I think both he and Devin, their speed at linebacker negates some of the stuff that they do. No, Kamara caught a couple passes, but and he was open a couple other times, but they didn't complete them. But we just match up well with them.
And tell me about Devin, what you saw from his game.
Yeah, Devin's back. I mean, that's 2 weeks in a row. He was flying all over the place and had great energy and did a great job checking the defenses to the right spots. And again, just really great leadership.
And for Joe Tryon, I know he was able to get a sack in this game, and it felt like maybe it got to show off a little bit of his speed. So what did you see from his game overall and then that play in particular? Yeah,
he showed his speed, and Taysom Hill can run. And Joe ran him down, and he's been getting great pressure. He's just starting to finish it a little bit more. He's getting better and better. He's going to be a heck of a player.
What are the biggest areas of growth you've seen in him from the start of the season to now?
Just learning. He's playing a little bit more inside now, and learning more jobs so we can get him on the field more. And but his speed, the power, all the things that he's just still working on his toolbox a little bit, and he's just going to get better and better.
And I know that Coach Bowles' system, guys talk about how it is intricate but not necessarily complicated. But for a guy like Tryon to come in as a rookie and have to learn multiple positions in a guy like Coach Bowles' scheme, what does that say about his ability, and maybe what are the biggest challenges of that?
Yeah, it's just a matter of all the assignments, whether you're a 3 technique running games or you're a stand-up end, outside linebacker. So all the jobs that he's doing. And Joe's bright, so it's not a problem.
Outside of him, what did you think of the other outside linebackers' games?
I thought we played really, really well. Got good pressure. We gave up the quarterback option a couple of times when we took the dive instead of the quarterback. But other than that, we played pretty solid.
And yeah, we brought up Kamara and Ingram a little bit earlier, but yeah, Kamara held to 18 yards on 11 carries, Ingram to 10 yards on 9 carries. That's a pretty incredible stat line. And we talk all the time about how much you guys pride yourselves on the run defense. Why do you think this game in particular, you were able to shut down not one, but 2 incredibly talented backs?
Yeah, just the intensity that the front 5 brought, and then freed up Devin and Levante to just run and hit. And that's what we're designed to do, and our secondary tackled well.
Yeah, and you brought up the front 5, but we talked a little bit about, your outside and inside linebackers. How about your D-line? Any guys in particular that really stood out with their performance?
Will Golston had a heck of a ball game. I think just the entire group, Nacho had a bogey, Vita, everybody just played really, really well up front.
And where have you seen that position group grow this season, is in terms of maybe where it's been playing some of their best ball or not? Was this game one of those?
Yeah, it really was. It really was. And we could have got a little more pressure from the interior, but overall, stopping those quarterback runs, we knew it was going to be big.
Yeah, and that actually was going to be my next question. So looking at that was one of the biggest differences, of course, from first matchup to second matchup, was that Taysom Hill was the quarterback. How did you feel about the game plan you guys had against him, and the way that, the plan was, but then the execution of the plan as well?
I thought it was a great plan, and I really, other than 2 plays, I thought it was great execution. We gave up a deep ball that we should have turned around and intercepted, and we had the guy covered, and we dropped that interception that would have kept it in a 1-score game. But other than that, played really good.
Yeah, I know Andrew Adams would love to have that play back. But overall, what did you think of his play now, these couple games in a row that he's had to step up and play some big
really
roles?
Solid. Made a couple of really good plays on third down, good tackles. And, he's been playing very, very, very good.
And you had Winfield out, Whitehead back. You just basically kind of swapped one safety for another. I'm sure you'd love to have everybody back. But what was it like to have Whitehead back out there?
Well, he's great in the running game too, and he brought it. I mean, he was knocking the edge back every time, and one of these days we're gonna have them all back. I mean, we had Dean and Winfield out, but they look like they might all be back this week. Okay. And
when Winfield isn't out there, what are the biggest things that you miss from him?
Well, his ball hawking skills. Same with Mike Edwards, getting him back. He doesn't drop interceptions, and so it's. Gives us ability to break on some balls and maybe get some more turnovers.
Yeah, I know that Callaway was really the only Saint to do very much against you guys, and mainly it was particularly early, that 140-yard catch. What was he doing that worked well against you guys, or what didn't end up working on the defensive side against him?
He just played the ball better than we did. They lobbed one up in there, and we ran past it, and he jumped up and got it. There's really nothing special about the play.
Yeah, and overall, I think looking at what the Saints offense can potentially be. What was it that you think this defense was able to really show you for moving forward? That what would apply outside of just the Saints game, of where this defense stands at this point in the year?
A lot will carry over this week with Cam Newton and the quarterback runs, and how we defended them, and knowing that we can get them stopped. And we didn't do a good job on Josh Allen, but we did on Taysom, and we'll have to do it again on Cam.
All right. Well, we still have more coming up here on the Bruce Arians Show. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the Bruce Arians Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Bruce Arians. Wanted to talk a little bit of special teams. We just talked about defense. So Bradley Pinion, I know, had been listed on the injury report a little bit. So he had one really great punt and then a few that I know he'd like to have back. Overall, what did you think of his game against the Saints?
It wasn't up to par for him. We should have been kicking some balls down inside the 10, and then that poor punt right down the middle, they got the big return on. And we just got to do a better job.
How much did you think that it was? When we see a guy on the injury report, we never really know what that means, of how significant that is. How much was injury versus just his play overall?
It's just his play. I don't think the injury had anything to do with it, but we missed a field goal and we didn't punt well, so our kickers had to do a better job.
Yeah, and I was going to ask if you've had any conversations with Suckup about what's been going on, or know what's been happening recently. You'd said that definitely got to be better and not up to par yet.
Yeah, it can't continue, that's for sure. And we'll see what we're going to do this week and see how it goes.
And how about Jalen Darden in the return game? I know he had an 11-yard punt return at one point, 17-yard kick return. What did you think of his return game? I
thought he did a real good job judging and inside the 50 balls, and played one off the bounce and got a 9-yard return, which was big because they probably would have got it on about the 2. And I thought he made good decisions.
Okay, and how about the coverage teams? What did you see from them? I know that there was one longer return than you'd like. Delaney did get to down one at the 1. Triner had a few pretty big plays there. So what did you see from the coverage?
Yeah, when Zach's making tackles, we got a little bit of a problem. It was a really good night other than the 2 plays, the punt return and the roughing the punter.
And I know that Pat O'Connor, another guy that went down with injury, that I'm sure a lot of the other guys are the ones that people are paying a lot more attention to, but he's a really big part of this special teams unit. So, do we have much of an update on him yet?
No, he's still in the MRI tube also. So we'll know more on Wednesday about a bunch of these guys.
Okay, and then if he isn't able to go, what does he mean? Because I do think he is one of the more unsung guys in some ways on this team.
Yeah, I mean, he's a big guy that plays on all the special teams. He's a core player, and he will be sorely missed.
I imagine that there haven't been too many defensive linemen you've used on special teams in those ways.
No, they're
in your
very
career.
rare. They're very, very rare, and Pat is rare.
That's so true. And how about some other guys that have maybe impressed on special teams? I just think we don't always give them the credit due, but they make a big difference on the game. So who are some of the unsung guys otherwise on the coverage teams this year?
I think KJ Britt and Grant Stewart, other than Grant roughing the kicker, and that was just a rookie mistake of going for the wrong side. And but they've been playing lights out on teams and making tackles, holding up people. Kevin Minter. I mean, the whole group is doing pretty solid most of the time. This game, we got out hit.
Okay, well, we still have more coming up here on the Bruce Arians Show. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the Bruce Arians Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Bruce Arians. I know Brady ended up getting sacked 4 times, all on 3rd down. It's his first 4-sack game as a Buccaneer. So what was it about this particular game, Saints defense, what we did, what they did, that led to a very unusual stat line?
Yeah, our offensive line's been playing great all year, and we had some leakage, but we also had some coverage sacks where we weren't getting open, especially after Mike and Chris went out. We weren't getting open quick enough. And making Tom hold the ball, and that front's going to get there.
And I know he finally hit 200 yards passing, basically about a minute left. Until that point, he had his most passing attempts in a game without getting to that 200-yard mark that he'd ever had. So I know there were just so many weird things, whether it was injuries, just things that weren't flowing on offense. What did you think about Brady's game overall, kind of aside from the things that were out of his control? Yeah,
I think Tom was playing solid. I mean, I know he'd like to have the fumble back, but he was making a play on that. And but other than that, we just got to do a better job protecting him, and run the ball more consistently.
Yeah, and I saw at the beginning of the game in particular, just a lot of throws that didn't end up, I think, running the ball until the second quarter. What was sort of the reasoning behind that? And I think that was a similar thing to the game before. We're starting off with a lot of passing plays early in the game. What's kind of the thought process there? A
lot of them are run pass options, and Tom likes to pass better. So in the second quarter, we did get to some runs.
Yeah, that sounds like a typical quarterback decision there. So I know you said that we don't have a lot of updates on Mike and Chris yet, but how about what you saw from each of them maybe before they went down with an injury in the game?
Well, Chris was having a heck of a game. Mike went back in and made a big catch, but then he couldn't continue. But Chris was going to have a big game. I think they both were going to have a big game. It's a shame.
And I know that the next man up has unfortunately been a phrase that we've had to say more times than anybody would like to this year. Does there get to be a point where that's not even as feasible when it's the next man up, and you do have to kind of change some things when it comes to play calling or what you like to do?
Yeah, defensively, we've been through it all year with the secondary. Hopefully we'll get them all back, and it does change how you call the game. Offensively, when you start losing guys like Mike and Chris, young guys have to step in, and they need to play better when they get their opportunity.
Yeah, and so tell me about some of these young guys and what you saw from them and would like to see from them. How about Scotty Miller first?
Yeah, Scotty, I mean, he had a couple catches, but he just needs to get off press coverage a little bit quicker and faster, and he's always struggled with big corners who press him, and then he can't use his speed. Tyler played okay. He can block a whole lot better, and he needs to do a better job of getting open when Tom needs him. And he got covered one-on-one too many times in that game. Jalen Darden got targeted, didn't catch any, but he was open a few times.
And then how about Keyshawn Vaughn? This is a guy that hasn't had a lot of opportunities to get in there. And what did you see from him and what you'd like to see moving forward? Yeah,
Keyshawn can run the ball. And I wish he trusted his hands a little bit more. He stumbled on one, dropped one. And those are plays he can make. And he can make big plays for us. And he's going to have to down the stretch.
And I know another guy asked to make some big plays was Rojo. He came in and had 2 back-to-back really impressive runs of, I think, 12 yards and 30 yards. And what did you see from him in his times that he was coming in there after Fournette went down?
Rowe was running really well, and he caught the ball really well. And with Lenny getting hurt, it's all on his shoulders again, and I look forward to that one.
And I know that Fournette, has just become such a huge part of this offense. I mean, basically it was kind of funny to see as everybody talked about the injuries that you were down your top 3 pass catchers on the team because Fournette is now considered one of those. So what has he come to mean to this offense, and what does losing him mean?
Well, he's a very excellent dual threat back. He can run, he can catch, and he's also a good pass blocker. But yeah, you're taking a lot of catches out of the game, and those other guys are going to have to pick it up.
I know that, you'd already thrown to him 4 times on the opening drive alone. And are you looking at using Rojo in the same exact way, or would it kind of make you guys alter a little bit of how you use people because they're not quite the same kind of back?
Yeah, I would use them in different areas. But they still have to catch the ball, and so it's and they can do it. That's not a problem. So it's just, yeah, we'll use them differently.
And in this game, was it a moment where you really started to feel the loss of Gio Bernard as well?
Well, yeah, anytime you start losing starters, it adds up. And, he's another guy that plays really well on third down, and we didn't have him.
I know that the moment probably you realized that just nothing was going to go the team's way on offense was when typically the most reliable connection that exists is Brady to Gronk, and then that one just wasn't even seeming to work. What seemed to be interrupting that connection in the game? Yeah,
we dropped a couple balls we don't usually drop, and didn't make a couple throws and catches that you normally see those two make, that 4th down play or third down play. And but yeah, it's one of those nights.
And it seemed like, when you have so many offensive weapons go down, that maybe the depth of your tight end room was going to be used a little bit more. I know that Cam ended up only with 2 catches, 22 yards. OJ didn't end up with any catches. What was either the Saints were doing or our offensive scheme was just not lending itself to the idea of using them a little bit more even when those other guys went down?
Yeah, I mean, they were out there, just got to get open. I mean, you got to get
those
open.
Minor details of
football.
football,
you got to get open. Yeah, that's a big one.
And I know that the timing will end up working out really well with being able to have Antonio Brown back. And I know that when you bring a guy back when he's not been in for a bit, it's a little different when it was an injury versus just being out. So were you wanting to maybe be able to ease him back in a little bit, or that now maybe that's not an opportunity with so many guys being hurt, or did you plan on kind of thrusting him back in there completely?
Yeah, we're going to put him back in. It's just a matter of a snap count, see what kind of shape he's in. And he should be ready to roll, but just I don't know how many plays.
Okay, well, we still have one more segment coming up here on the Bruce Arians Show. We'll be right back. Time for the final segment here on the Bruce Arians Show. We are looking forward to that Panthers game, and you brought it up a little bit earlier in the show about the idea of these mobile quarterbacks. You guys have had to face a whole lot of them, it feels like, recently, and you'll be doing it again this week. So Cam Newton, facing him, what are the biggest things to keep in mind?
Well, for Cam, it's getting him on the ground. He's a big, hard tackle, and they're doing a lot of the same stuff we just saw, the last couple of weeks. But again, he does some things that are just very unique in running and throwing and RPOs and stuff. And then P.J. Walker's coming in and he's throwing it all over the place. So they've got a ton of talent offensively.
Yeah, outside of the two of them, what are the biggest things that you've noticed offensively that you guys are going to have to look out for?
Robbie Anderson, he can take the top off quick, and Moore. They've got great receivers. Hubbard, the young back, is playing really, really well since McCaffrey's hurt. And they've been pretty much healthy. So, other than their quarterback situation. So it's going to be a heck of a challenge. And
how about on the defensive side of things for them?
Those 2 outside pass rushers, Hassan Reddick and Burns, those 2 cats can really bring it off the edge. And we're going to have to do a great job. Our tackles are going to have to play a hell of a ball game.
When you know you're going to face a team 2 out of 3 weeks, how does that, if at all, affect the way you game plan or what all you roll out? Do you try to hold some things back to have something else 2 weeks from now?
No, you go all out, win the first one, and then see what happens with the second one. But we got to win this one.
How does it affect what you do or try to do when you are playing a team 2 times so close together?
It doesn't. The game plays itself out, and then you come back in 2 weeks and see what they're doing, if they've done anything different, and what you're going to do differently. And in weeks 16, 17, you ain't doing a hell of a lot much different.
Yeah, that's very true. And of course, you're going to be basically traveling on Christmas Day, and I know you are very used to the whole working on Christmas. Holidays don't get to really be a thing very often in the NFL world, but do you try to have any holiday traditions or things you do with the team or ways to celebrate as a football family?
Well, we try to I make sure everybody is out of here early the day before Christmas Eve. So those of us who always celebrate Christmas Eve, because our names start with A, so we went first. And then we don't come in until late Christmas Day. So they have plenty of time with the kids and the family. It's too big of a holiday to let football get in the way.
I love that. All right. Well, Coach, good luck this next week, and I hope you have a wonderful holiday.
You too.
All right. Thanks, you guys, for joining us. We'll see you next week.